Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Sports with Sunshine, powered by the Sports Lounge Media. Guys, I want to say a quick shout out, like we do every single show, to our sponsors, the Mogul brand and the Diamond Collection. Thank you for making the Sports Lounge exactly what it is. And thank you to the Sports Lounge for sponsoring and powering Sports with Sunshine and allowing us to come on this great show and spread NFL as well as professional sports knowledge. Guys, how are we doing? We are live here, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we've got NFL football rocking and rolling. The Philadelphia Eagles just cleaned up last night with the Cincinnati Bengals, as well as the Baltimore Ravens, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Raiders and the Seahawks. But tonight we're going to focus on one that hits a little close to home, that being the Philadelphia Eagles. As everybody knows, the Philadelphia Eagles did come out of that game with a 34-27 win, and they looked pretty convincing on the offensive side of the ball, okay? There was a lot of good things that we're going to get into, specifically at the quarterback position. Offensive line looked good. We got to see a lot of new faces along the offensive line, so was really happy with that. The receiving core was very, very good. Some really new faces that we really haven't heard much about at camp. We did have one injury, but guys, we're going to get into it now. I want to give a big shout out to everybody, man, for coming out tonight and hanging out. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share with your dog. Make sure everybody is watching Sports with Sunshine on Mondays and Fridays, guys. Let's get into it. The very first thing we're going to talk about, guys, Tanner McKee had an incredible night from the field. This guy looked like a polished quarterback. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that Tanner McKee earned himself not only a spot on the Philadelphia Eagles, but possibly anywhere else in the NFL that he would want to go. He looked surgical out there with the twos, guys. The offensive line was buying him time. Receivers were creating separation. I mean, 20 of 25, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground, and 0 turnovers. The kid had an 135.3 passer rating, as well as an 153.3 QBR. Tanner was lights out. He made some line throws. He was hitting guys in stride on the goal line, one of them being to Anais Smith. I thought that was a beautiful in-breaking slant. He was hitting back shoulder fades to Johnny Wilson all night, as well as Darius Cooper. Guys, Tanner McKee has really risen his stock as a quarterback in the National Football League, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. Yes, the Philadelphia Eagles do need a number 2, and that is going to be Tanner McKee for the time being. But I truly believe that if Tanner McKee were to go to a different team, he could have 100% compete for the job in New Orleans. He could 100% compete for the job with the Indianapolis Colts. Guys, he is the truth. I don't know how we got him when we got him, but it is nice to have a guy on the offensive side of the football that in the event that we don't have Jalen Hurts. I mean, last season we seen Jalen go down with some injuries that, caused us to kind of be a little bit worried. But Tanner McKee stepped in even a year ago and looked really good. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I really feel like he could step in now and be really good. Outside of that, I think that, we had some really good showing from the offensive line. A lot of young guys got opportunity. We got to see Drew Kendall for the majority of the night. We got to see Miles Hinton take some snaps at left tackle. We even got to see Cameron Williams. And although I will be honest, he's got some things he's got to clean up, it does make sense why he fell to where he fell, with the right tackle having an early holding call due to bad shoulder placement on the outside shoulders. I thought we've seen some good things out of Cameron Williams. Okay, we've seen Tyler Steen. He looked amazing in run blocking along with Drew Kendall and some of these other guys. The offensive line as a whole, I'm never usually worried about due to the fact that we do have Jess Stalin, but it's nice to know that we have depth at that area as well. They created a lot of open lanes for the rushing attack. The Philadelphia Eagles finished the night with 4 yards a touch, 133 rushing yards between the running backs that ran, and that was Powell, Shipley, A.J. Dillon, and we even seen a little bit of totage from DTR. But A.J. Dillon looked good on some of his long runs. Will Shipley looked incredible early on and was getting some breakaway runs to the right side of the Eagles offensive line. And we even seen Powell come in and have some really, really powerful runs. All the running backs looked very good. This Philadelphia Eagles team underneath Kevin Batul, and obviously it's the preseason. Guys, we're not going to see all of the wrinkles of the offense, but it does look very balanced. 33 rushing attempts, 4 yards a carry. We had 38 pass attempts. That is pretty balanced when it comes to the preseason. I was really happy with it. I thought that all of the quarterbacks, out of the exception of Kyle McCord, performed very well. Obviously, you see Tanner McKee's spots below me, and I do think he has solidified himself as the quarterback 2 on this roster. But you look at DTR. He had some really nice throws. He had a really good completion percentage in the attempts that he got. Now we go to, Kyle McCord, and DTR did have the one fumble, but it was recovered by the Philadelphia Eagles. That is something he's going to have to clean up in the RPO game. But we look at Kyle McCord. He had a struggle some night, 1 of 5, did have an interception, and just looked a little bit uncomfortable out there. And that, I think, is going to come due to the fact that Kyle McCord doesn't get a whole lot of reps at practice. So it's going to be a little bit more tricky for him to get equated into the offense, unlike a DTR who's getting reps. We all know Tanner McKee is getting a lot of reps at practice. So that's going to happen at times. You're going to see young guys struggle like that early on just due to lack of reps. Outside of that, guys, some names that I want to recognize in the receiving core. The receiving core was incredible for the Philadelphia Eagles. Johnny Wilson in particular was one of them. The kid was absolutely incredible. 5 out of 6 targets, 5 receptions. He had 1 back shoulder fade where he had to go back and trace the ball from Tanner McKee, and he ended up catching it. That's not a catch that Johnny Wilson makes a year ago. He has really been working on his hands, and that excites me due to the fact that I do believe Johnny was brought in as a red zone target, and he did just that. Was very, very good at high pointing the football with some really expertly thrown balls by Tanner McKee. He was high pointing the football and doing a really, really good job of just making the most of his opportunities. There were a few that kind of looked like I was like, oh, I don't know if he's going to get those. And then he would high top receiver. So a great night from him. Ainias Smith caught a touchdown on a slant that was absolutely beautifully thrown by Tanner McKee. And although I would like to see Ainias get a little bit more involved in the offense when we take on the Cleveland Browns next Saturday, I do think that all in all, he had a good night. Only had 2 receptions, was pretty quiet, but that touchdown was a very nicely ran slant route inside, beautifully placed ball. Now, the name that I think we all want to talk about is Darius Cooper. Darius Cooper had been getting some practice reps. You hadn't heard his name a whole lot. Honestly, it was kind of surprising to see. You heard Elijah Cooks, the guy that was injured, and the sustains of his injury has not been released yet, but he was carted off. It did not look great. Prayers are up for Elijah Cooks. It could be one of those that keeps him off the football field. We hope not. But Darius Cooper was incredible. 82 yards, 6 of 7 targets, 6 receptions, and a touchdown. The kid was getting separation consistently against both the Bengals 1s, 2s, and 3s. I thought he really busted onto the scene. I think he earned himself an opportunity to battle for that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 spot, because in all honesty, we did see Jahan Dotson very early on, but very briefly. After that, it was the Darius Cooper, Johnny Wilson show, and I thought both of those guys really added to their stock when it comes to competing for a spot on this roster. Because when we think about it, guys, not all of these guys are going to get brought on specifically in the receiving room. You got to think A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, John Dotson. Those are 3 locks. Everybody else is kind of battling for that 4 or 5 spot. And, even the 3 spot to get some reps during the season, I thought Darius Cooper made the most of his opportunity. I'm excited to see him throughout the rest of the preseason. I think that he's going to get a lot more opportunities due to this game. Another name that, I really enjoyed, Will Shipley, was really running with his hair on fire. Loved the way he was exploding through the second level. The offensive line was doing a great job carving out holes for him. And just the offense in general, how balanced it was. I really enjoyed the fact that we were trying to stretch the field to the right and the left and then come back. It's pinpoint Eagles football, guys. It's what we're really used to seeing. And I thought Kevin Patul did a really good job of running it efficiently. And guys, you got to remember, the football game at one point we were leading. We were playing the Bengals 1s, and we were working them on the offensive side of the football. Now, while we all know the Bengals don't have the best defense in football, this is a plus sign that our 2s were able to get this kind of traction and this kind of movement, specifically through the air, right? I thought Tanner McKee was just incredible. You see his stats right there below me. Oh, my Lord. He is QB2, and I don't necessarily know that it's close. Cowboy Central says, Tanner McKee is a starter. I couldn't agree with him more. I think that Tanner really came out and proved that he is the Eagles' number 2, and that not only is he the Eagles' number 2, but when he leaves Philadelphia, and eventually it's going to happen, he's going to get a quarterback 1 spot, whether that's in New Orleans, whether that's in New York, or whether that's in Indianapolis. There are places, even Cleveland, doesn't have a solidified quarterback. I really think that, he has a real opportunity to go get a payday. I love that for Tanner because he's just been a true Eagle. Guys, I appreciate everyone for coming out tonight. And remember, if you like these videos and you enjoy talking ball, ball with me. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family, guys, so that everybody's watching Sports with Sunshine on a Monday or Friday. Big shout out to the Sports Lunch for powering them. We're going to go to the other side of the football where Eagles fans kind of have a little bit of hesitancy when it comes to this side over here. But there were some good things, and there are the things I want to highlight first before we get into the bad. But first of all, guys, the defensive side of the football. They did a good job early on. I thought that, in terms of run fits, we had a lot of young guys out there. Trotter and Jihaad both were out there, and they looked really good taking on offensive linemen at the point of attack. Jihaad did get an early penalty for a hands to the face. Those are things he's going to clean up, but he consistently met offensive linemen at the point of attack. He did a really good job with his hands, shedding guys and putting himself in the position to tackle. I believe he finished with 5 group tackles, putting him in line. Trotter led the way with 6. Really, really good job from the linebacking core. I thought we've seen a lot of good things, a lot of athleticism. They were very good in coverage. I all in all, I thought the linebacking core, specifically Trotter, Campbell, and I do believe we've seen another linebacker. I can't think of his name right now, but we've seen a third go out there, and it was a good showing from the linebacker unit. I thought they did a really good job in run fits, great job communicating him. You've seen throughout the game, Jihaad switching sides and communicating with Trotter. Trotter was obviously calling the defenses, but really, really enjoyed watching Jihaad just get his feet wet in the NFL. He almost came up with an interception. He's going to want that one back. But he was just all over the place, and that's what you want to see out of a young guy. That's what we brought him in for, was to be a run support linebacker that was an athletic freak we could use in coverage. He was great in coverage at Alabama. Thought he had an incredible night as a rookie getting his feet wet. Then we moved down to the defensive line. Thought the Eagles defensive line did some good things. I thought the edges were a little bit underwhelming. Interiorly, Ty Robinson is a penetrator, and it shows. He did twice on 2 drives. He drove the guards back for the Cincinnati Bengals and caused Joe Burrow to flee the pocket right and left. That's what you want to see out of your 3 techniques and your shades when it comes to pass rush. You want to see them penetrate the middle and cause the quarterback to kind of escape, especially a quarterback like Joe Burrow that's not necessarily known to be a scrambler. Then you give your edges a chance to clean it up on the edge. Now, obviously, if it is Lamar or, one of these other guys, CJ Stroud, one of the other more mobile quarterbacks, then you want to try to kind of keep those guys in. But as it pertains to Joe Burrow, while he is sneakily athletic, isn't known for being one of those guys that's trying to get out on the edge and beat you with his speed. So I thought that the Vanilla Gorilla did a really good job at the point of attack. There were a couple times where I noticed he would take false steps and kind of get caught in double teams. That's something he's going to get clean up as he gets a feel for the game. But interiorly in run support, thought he did a really, really, really good job. Seen a lot of good things out of him. Ajomo was incredible early on. There were a couple other guys that also got reps. We've seen a lot of the 3 and the 4s on the defensive line go to work. Uche and Ojulari were a little bit underwhelming, in my opinion. They didn't have any sacks. They did have some pressures, but it looked like they were kind of overrunning it a little bit. Would like to see them get a little bit more of a grasp on what Vic Fangio is asking them to do, specifically since they are going to come in and immediately be in the rotation. Antoine Powell-Ryland is another name that I specifically watched late in the 3rd and 4th quarter. He had a couple plays where he beat the left tackle off the edge with a swim move. Outside of that swim move, though, he didn't really have any other tools in his bag, and that just kind of goes to show that he's young and a rookie, and he's got to add more tools to the bag. He did have a wicked spin move early on, but he kind of spun right into a guard. So things like that we've got to get cleaned up on the edge. Guys understanding pass rush lane integrity, all those different things. The edges were a little underwhelming. I would probably give them a C+ overall. Would love to see that be a little bit more cleaner as we move through the through the preseason. A lot of those guys are going to get a lot more reps. Then we move to the secondary. That is a place where the Philadelphia Eagles are kind of hurting right now. Now, obviously, Kelee, Ringo, and Adoree Jackson were some names that we kind of wanted to see get some reps because those were the guys we were worried about, right? We know Quinyon Mitchell is going to be a starter in the defense. We know Cooper DeJean is going to be fine. It's these 2 that we're kind of thinking like, hey, how are they going to fare against the NFL's elite? And it doesn't get any more elite than Jamar Chase coming into your house. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Neither Adoree Jackson or Kelee Ringo could really cover Jamar. And people will come on and they'll say, well, it's Jamar Chase. He's the best receiver in football. We got to give him some grace. That's fine. But, guys, you got to remember, Quinyon Mitchell was a rookie a year ago, and he was incredible in one-on-one coverage versus Jamar Chase. Cooper DeJean was a rookie a year ago, was an excellent tackler versus Jamar Chase in space. So really that whole we need to give him some grace thing doesn't fly with me because Adoree and Kelee have both been in the league long enough that I would expect them to at least be able to compete with Jamar. And as you see below, between the 2 of them, 8 targets, or 9 targets and 8 catches allowed for 124 yards and a touchdown. That was all versus the Bengals secondary as a whole, not just Jamar Chase, but the touchdown was Jamar Chase's, and it was on Kelee Ringo on a 32-yard stop where Kelee Ringo was playing a little bit soft. Jamar caught it, and then Kelee just had an awful form tackle when he came up. Those are some things that we are going to have to clean up. When we talk about, Adoree and Kelee and what we expect from the secondary, these guys are going to be playing good receivers. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles schedule, you got the Rams, Devontae Smith, Puka Nacua. Okay, you got the Washington Commanders, Deebo Samuels and Terry McLaurin. You got Dallas, George Pickens, and oh my goodness, I can't think of his name right now. Oh my gosh, it's blanking me, but you guys know who I'm talking about. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. CeeDee Lamb, good Lord. You go to Buffalo. Buffalo's got some decent receivers, not as good as, say, you got DJ Moore and Roma Duze with the Bears. You've got Jordan Love and the rookie they brought in. So, the Detroit, Amon St. Raw, Sam Laporta. These guys are going to have to face some of the better receivers in the NFL. There's no way around it. That's the way it is. You go to Tampa Bay, you got Mike Evans, Amika Buka, and Chris Godwin if they're all healthy. So these guys are going to see some talented receivers. They've got to clean that up. Last night was unacceptable. They know it was unacceptable. I understand it's a preseason game. They're going to get better, but they're going to have to get a lot better. And this is why when the Philadelphia Eagles brought in Jacorian Bennett, a lot of people were saying it's depth, it's just a guy. No. Jacorian Bennett is going to be able to compete for that cornerback 2 position immediately, because you look at what we've seen last night, there's just no way that Jacorian is that much further behind Kelee, Ringo, and Adoree. And this isn't me hating on all of them all the way. I mean, they had some good plays throughout the night, but what's shown is that they were not able to even compete with Jamar Chase. And that's all we're asking for, right? I'm not saying you need to shut him down. I'm not saying he needs to have 0 yards on 4 targets. I'm saying you need to at least be able to compete with him. And guys, I'm going to be honest with you, it didn't even look like Jamar Chase was trying. It looked like he was just kind of running speed outs and, quicks because they were giving him so much cushion. And obviously that was out of respect for his deep route running. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's got to improve. And then we bump down, to the safety room. I've seen some really good things out of Sidney Brown. I thought he was great in run support, but that's not really a surprise when it comes to Sidney Brown. We knew he was going to be a physical run supporting safety. Thought he fit the run lanes really well, but there were times where he was out of position, and there were a couple times where we had receivers without safety help over the top. Those are not things that are going to fly in a Vic Fangio system. So a lot of Eagles have been on the phone saying, hey, we need to bring in a veteran safety in Justin Simmons. I don't know if it's that bad yet. Let's give Andrew Makuba a chance to come in and demonstrate what he can be to the secondary. Let's give Sidney Brown a few more reps before, we call the false alarm. But as it pertains to the cornerback 2 role, I really think that there is a cause for concern. I do think that cornerback 2 spot is kind of up in the air, and we really don't know who's going to be the cornerback 2. But all in all, guys, I really like how the Eagles, responded. Obviously, you had Darius Cooper, who had an incredible night. The young Eagles, they shined last night. Ty Robinson, the Vanilla Gorilla, looked incredible. Jihaad Campbell looked fluid and comfortable out there. Darius Cooper came out of nowhere and almost had an 100-yard game. Johnny Wilson demonstrated great high-point ability and amazing hands. Will Shipley was running pissed off. Tyler Steen looked incredible in run blocking. There were things to be happy about. I mean, Drew Kendall played guard and center last night, and he looked incredible in pass pro as well as run defense or run blocking. And quarterback-wise, Tanner McKee is obviously the 2. There are things to be happy about from this game. Obviously, when we look at the preseason, it's not really about wins or losses. It's about the rookies getting their feet wet, getting a feel for the game, for the NFL at a game speed without things being set up for them in practice. And, I was very happy with what I've seen from the offensive side, from the linebacking core. I think those were my 2 favorite areas. And obviously the areas that are kind of going to need to be a little bit better is the secondary. It is the safety room. Edge, I thought could have played a little bit better. But coaching wise, it was really good. Special teams was 2 of 2. Jake Elliott hit all his field goals. He even switched with his placeholder, and the placeholder kicked a field goal late in the game. I mean, all in all, a really good effort. It was 34-17 at one point, and then it ended up being 34-27. But I thought early on the Eagles pretty much had this one, wrapped up. Then we look at the Bengals. Thought the Bengals did some good things as well offensively. They looked very good. They looked very sharp offensively. Joe Burrow, was 9 of 10, 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. They asked him in the interview, like, hey, what did you think of that game? You guys look really sharp. Sharp. He said, we were average. So the Bengals quarterback obviously expecting more out of his offense, but I thought the Bengals first team offense looked really good. And that's not a surprise to us, right? We knew Jamar Chase was going to look good. We knew those tight ends were great at escaping, and we knew that Chase Brown was going to have to be an integral part of the run game. It was the Bengals defense that kind of gives Bengals fans a little bit of, ooh, my goodness, what's going to happen? And if you're a Bengals fan, you're probably not happy that the Philadelphia Eagles twos were pretty much moving the football up and down the field on you. So some things to fix with the Cincinnati Bengals, but all in all, guys, thought it was a really fun preseason game. We also had the Indianapolis Colts and the Baltimore Ravens who played. We got to see kind of what Malachi Starks looks like for the Baltimore Ravens, and I thought he looked incredible, specifically in run fit, which is what he was brought in to do with his physicality, was really good, coming down and making solid tackles. Thought the run game for Baltimore looked incredible. All in all, that kind of dictated that game. Anthony Richardson goes down with a pinky injury, which is going to kind of hamper his ability to compete for a spot on that roster, and that's the last thing Anthony Richardson needed. Daniel Jones wasn't very good, but I thought he was the best playing quarterback, and as of right now, he is probably the Colts quarterback one. Outside of that, leaves a lot to be desired. The defense for the Colts didn't necessarily look great. They were out of position at times. Now it is the twos. Keep in mind, it is the twos. Then you fast forward, you got Seattle Seahawks and the Raiders. Seattle dominated that game for the first portion. Drew Lock made some really nice crossers down the field. I thought that Jalen Milroe looked comfortable and athletic in the pocket. I would like to see him get rid of the football a little bit quicker, but he did have some nice throws. The running game for Seattle was going. The defense we knew was going to be good, looked incredible. For the Raiders struggled, okay? Ashton Denty didn't look great. 3 touches for -1 yard. That's got to be better. But outside of that, I love that the Raiders fought. They fought back from, at one point it's 14-3. The game could have been over then. I think at one point it was even 24-6. Game could have been a wrap then, but they fought back underneath Pete Carroll to tie the game. And it ended up being 23-23. So if you're a Raiders fan, that's inspiring to see that they're playing for their coach. I mean, last year's Raider team probably folds the bucket and then, Seattle runs away with it 30-plus points. So that's a positive that you can take out of that. But outside of that, the quarterback play outside of Geno Smith is not impressive. Aiden O'Connell's just not the guy. And the run game with that offensive line is not consistent enough right now. Again, guys, I appreciate everyone for coming out tonight. Remember, drop in the comments. I always love talking with you guys, whether it's on the restream or whether it's on this live stream. I appreciate you guys coming out. Remember to hit the like, subscribe, and share button if you enjoy these videos. I love talking ball with you guys. This has been a recap of the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Loved some things. Obviously, there's some things to work on. We're going to get into that on Monday. We are going to talk a little bit at 7 p.m. Eastern time, as always, about NFL happenings, right? Shedeur Sanders has his start tonight. We're going to get to see some of the other teams over the weekend. We're going to compile some things and just kind of get into an NFL-focused live, guys. I hope to see you all at that show. Again, I want to give a big shout-out to the Mogul Brand and the Diamond Collection for sponsoring the Sports Lounge Media. And thank you to the Sports Lounge Media for partnering and powering Sports with Sunshine to make Sports with Sunshine what it is. Guys, for now, that is probably going to have to do it for us. I know this one was a pretty decently long show. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me to the end, guys. We will be having some more as the season goes along. For now, it's goodbye, but I will see you guys at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Monday to talk about the rest of these preseason games as we get into what Shedeur Sanders looks like, as well as some of these other guys. For now, guys, it's goodbye and go Birds.